This bike turned out great. There's something missing. You know, some really cool red, white, and blue pads would go really nice for this bike for the next race. When is the race? February 12th. That's today. The weatherman said nothing about raining cats and dogs. I'm going back inside. Well, unfortunately, as y'all see, there is no race this weekend. It is absolutely nasty out there. Now, it's been beautiful all week long, and we've been keeping an eye on the weather, and the weather people could not make up their mind on what the weather was going to be like this weekend. They were saying that it's going to be raining for 3 days, and then they said Friday is going to be beautiful. And we were like, yes, because it was early in the week. And then they said Saturday is going to be good. And we still had lots of time, and we were thinking that maybe since the weather looked like it was pushing out, that we were going to have a good Sunday. We did not. Sunday morning it started raining and really messed up our plans. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to go ahead and we're going to switch the tires on here. I got the new tires, so I've got the 1.75 in the blue for the back, which I think will go well against the red brake, and then we've got the red tire for the front in the 20 by 2.125. So we're going to put those on there, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go home and I'm going to see, back in the early 90s when I started racing BMX, what we did was we would actually make our own pads. And I'm thinking with this bike that I want to go with a nice red, white, and blue pad set for this. And we're going to get that put on. But right now, let's go ahead and get these tires swapped in real time, and you can see how long it takes for us to swap out tires. So let's go ahead and do that. And let's see, it's, what time is it? About 4 minutes into the video. Let's go ahead and start doing this. And let's see how long it takes to do this. So now I have been in the bike business since 1994, which is actually when I started racing bikes, because working at the bike shop, everybody raced and rode BMX. So of course, being new to the bike shop, this is taking more time. Being new in the bike business, the guys, were trying to include me into the whole thing, the shop. So I got a BMX bike. They actually gave me a frame, gave me forks, I bought the wheels, and they helped me get into it. And my first bike that I got at the bike shop was actually a, first one was actually a Supercross, an old 80s Supercross. Maybe it was it was an 80s Supercross. It had a kind of a weird rear end. It had the seat stays were a little bit lower, and it had a second seat stay on there. And you know what? I loved that bike. That was a great bike. I ended up getting rid of it because it had a bad black paint job on there. Somebody had spray painted it black. And so I had an opportunity to get an old 80s or early 90s free agent limo. And the bike looked great. And I built that one up, taking the parts off my Supercross and putting it onto there. Well, I did not like that free agent because the frame, the bottom bracket was so low that as I was at the racetrack, I was ticking people off because as I was trying to keep the front end down, trying to keep both my wheels on the ground, racing, my chain ring would actually go into the ground. It would take the lip of the jump off, scattering dirt everywhere. And people were always yelling at me, and there was nothing I could do because I wasn't good enough to hit these jumps. And this was actually, this racetrack was Cowtown BMX in Texas. I can't remember exactly where it was. It might have been Dallas, but I can't remember to save my life. So Cowtown BMX, and that was in the around 1994 and 95 at the time. So after I had that limo, I ended up getting rid of the limo, partially because I didn't like the low bottom bracket. Although, other than that, it actually rode really good. Now, since I've got the blue tire on the back, I'm going to put the red dye on the back here. We're going to slide this back into place. Put the chain on. So I don't know how long that's been. I spent more time trying to find the tire lever to help me out there. So that's the rear tire. Let's make sure that we get the chain tension right. That chain tension is a bit high. Let's loosen that up a little bit. There we go. And we're going to straighten out the wheel here. Tight spot, loose spot. And then let's lock this into place. Okay, now the front wheel might be a little bit harder because this axle is slotted, and it's going to make it a little hard to get it back in because the slot is so it's tight. This front axle is actually designed for a where'd the tire lever go? It's designed for a 5/16 axle, and I ended up putting a 3/8 axle in here. Wow. I'll tell you what, I had the tire lever. Let's just get another one. Put something down and I didn't put it away where it's supposed to be. So, anyway, so where were we? I had the free agent limo. Then, in 1996, I bought a Redline PL20. That's whenever Redline was actually getting a company called Control Tech to build these frames, and it was made in the USA, and I'm going to tell you, it was gorgeous. The welds on it were absolutely flawless. So gorgeous welds. And it was a 21 and a quarter, 21 and a half long frame. I think it was 21 and a half. And I built that up with some JAD cranks. Now, if y'all don't know anything about JAD cranks, that's J-A-D, they made some really cool bikes back in the 90s. They weren't around for very long, but those cranks were stupid expensive. They were the most expensive cranks that I knew of in that day. But one of my buddies that worked at the shop, he bought a pair of JADs, and we went absolutely gaga over those cranks, and everybody had to have them. So we kept on buying those cranks, and I don't think they really appreciated us, because I don't think we ever sold a single set of those cranks because they were so expensive. And it was a large store, so there were a lot of employees there, and we kept calling, ordering, purchasing these cranks, and I think that they probably thought that we were scamming them, but it was the employees that were buying them, and I bought multiple pairs. I probably bought 3 pairs from them. Okay, let's put the blue dye on this. So then I had that red line, and I absolutely loved that bike. Loved it. And I was at, oh, by the way, the name of the shop that I was working at, it was actually DeBoe's Bike Shop in Grand Prairie, Texas, and which is no longer there. But what happened was I left my bike at work, and I was off, and whenever I came to work the next day, I went to go grab my bike, and it was gone. And the owner admitted that he was next door doing insurance, because he was actually an insurance salesman, and the bike shop was next door, and it was actually in a converted house. And loved the man. His name was Jerry DeBoe. Very honest guy. One of the best bosses I've ever had. One of them. And that's it on the wheels and the tires. So he said that he heard the door open, and he couldn't get over there quick enough. And what it was one of the ex-employees had actually come into the store, and by the way, both wheels was less than 10 minutes to do. So apparently an ex-employee came into the store, and he took the opportunity to take my bike because he really liked my bike. And I know that this ex-employee took it because for weeks afterwards I had customers coming in, BMX riders that were going in and saying, "Hey, why is James riding your bike?" And I actually ended up confronting James. I actually walked into his house uninvited, which isn't good. And I started looking around, and I couldn't find my bike. And I barged in. It wasn't right, but no bike. And I just gave up on it. And actually afterwards, nobody said, "Hey, why is James riding your bike?" And then after that, we sold Trek, and Trek had a really cool bike. It was the Trek Pro Issue XL, and actually this was a double XL that I got. The Trek rep found out that my Redline got stolen, and he was like, "Hey, I'll send you one of these new Pro issues," and it was a traditional frame. It was their very first one, and he sent it, and it was a 22-inch frame, and turns out it was actually one of Wade Boots's backup bikes or backup frames that the rep got for me, because Trek came out with a new Y Pro issue, which I thought was really ugly. So they wanted Wade Boots to ride this Y bike, and they didn't want the old frame, so it was one of them was actually sent to me. And I was thinking, oh, that's great. I got a new frame, and I started building it up. And then about a week later, a bill came in, and they charged me for the frame. And I'm going to tell you, that frame was expensive. So I wasn't real thrilled about it, because he didn't say, hey, it's going to be this price. He sent it to me, and then the bill showed up later. I never agreed to pay X number of dollars. I paid for it, but that was not exactly fun. All right, so now here's what we've got. We've got the blue tire on the back. We've got the red brakes, red tire on the front. I think this looks great, but we need more. And I really want that red, white, and blue pad set. So let me run home and let's sew the pad set like we used to do back in the day. We would actually grab whatever we could and make these pads. And actually, I remember one time I saw a couch on the side of the road that had this really interesting material on there. It was very, I can't really describe it. It was a really thick material. I'm sorry, I can't describe it, but what I did was, this thing was being thrown away, and I got a knife and I just cut a bunch of big spots out of this couch, and I sewed these pads onto the bike. Really cool. So let me see if I can make some cool red, white, and blue pads and put it on here. I'll be back in a second. Ta-da! I actually made these at the house. I can't show you the video of that because, quite frankly, I was wearing my boxers whenever I was sewing these together. My wife helped me out, and I ended up sewing it. She started to sew it, but whenever I told her that this is what I wanted to do, but I told her that I didn't tell her that I wanted to do this so that she would do all the sewing. So I sewed it. My wife supervised to make sure I wasn't doing too bad of a job. I butchered it. I butchered it. I actually sewed these together, and Zeke came in and he was like, "Why do you have a French flag on your bike?" And I was like, "French flag?" And he was like, "Yeah, and, the modern technology." He pulled up on his phone in a matter of seconds the French flag, and I'm like, well, darn. So I wanted to kind of change that up, so I figured, okay, I need to put some blue stars onto the pad. And I'm going to tell you, I went to the store a little bit ago, and I was trying to find, just something to make some white stars. And there is nothing around here with stars. So, hold on. So what I did was I went out back, and the neighbor had cut down a bunch of trees, and so I got one of the branches, and I got a Dremel tool and actually dremeled a star right here. Let's see if we can get a closer view of it. And what I did was I got some spray paint, and I just dabbed it in spray paint and put these stars in there. Kind kind of rough, but hey, the bike is rough, so it suits it quite well. And then I've got the stem pad right here. So let's get that on there. All right. I believe that we've got everything done with this bike. I'm not planning on doing anything else unless if I can find some better handlebars that the chrome isn't damaged. I like the pads pretty well. Made them myself at the house. I love the tires. Now I'm much happier with the blue tire on the back with that red brake and the red tire in the front. I may try to find some chain tensioners for this, but if you enjoyed this video, please leave me a big thumbs up. Don't forget to tell your friends. Check out some of the other videos on the corner of the screen. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.